Welcome to week 7 of college football, where apparently it's just easy to win on the road now. I don't know what's going on. Maybe just for the elite teams, right? Cinderella is dead, and a national championship contender is here in her place in Bloomington, Indiana. Questions will be attempted to be answered tonight. Is Arch Manning back? Will James Franklin be the head coach for Penn State by the time you listen to this show? And I promise you, the world is not ready for our Week 8 ATB Top 12 rankings. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Nohe, Lance Barton. Real quick before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. Make sure you follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. And our weekly recap episode is brought to you by Frostbuddy. As usual, go to frostbuddy.com/ATB. Get your can coolers, koozies. You still got tailgates out there. I know the weather's getting cooler up here in the Midwest and whatnot, but you still got things going on. So get your can coolers at frostbuddy.com/ATB, and they'll send you a 30% cashback rebate in the email afterwards. You'll see my settings a little different here, Lance. I am emanating live from Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Alabama. I'm on the 28th floor of a condo. People are outside to my right, literally sand crabbing right now as we speak.
Heaven on earth, baby. Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Alabama. Just heaven on earth is what that's called,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yeah. My family is gracious enough to allow me to watch, as much college football as I could today. So we are going to start off where we started off our preview episode, and that is out in Eugene, Indiana, Oregon, man. 30-20. Indiana victory. They go in there. They don't just win the game like on a last second field. They win by double digits. They dominate the game, man. Oregon came in averaging 46.6 points per game, and their offense was held to 13 points. And we talked about Dante Moore earlier. He was sacked 5 times. He had 2 interceptions. To me, this wasn't just like it's not like a move the goalpost win for Indiana. Like last year, Nebraska came into town and they're supposed to be really good last year. Indiana smoked them 56-7. Nebraska's not that good. This was a absolute statement win for the Hoosiers, because no one after this game is going to be saying, "Oh, Oregon sucks." Like we know who Oregon is. They're a good program. They're a good team. This is, it's got to be up there in our lifetimes, in my 38 years on earth at least, of maybe one of the best coaching jobs that I have ever seen in college football within a year and a half, within how many, 17, 18 games of being a program. This is a team who, if you look at the 24/7 sports composite rankings, is like 72nd in talent. Like they're like 3 spots behind Boston College, and they're going to Eugene, Oregon, and they're winning by double digits. It's unbelievable.
It really is, man. Siggs and this staff is just ridiculous. And obviously the mindset of this football team. We talked about how last year in the Notre Dame game and the Ohio State game, it was almost like, I know they weren't doing this, but it seemed like, the kind of like we were joking that Siggs was just coaching to try to cover the spread in those games. Like they weren't as aggressive in those games. And dude, today they came out and took the fight to Oregon. They came out and were the aggressor. They felt like that they were the better football team, and that's how they acted. And they played like it. Like you said, dude, Dante Moore had been sacked 1 time all year and 5 sacks today. And then offensively, Fernando Mendoza running the football, just balanced as could be on offense. Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper Jr., that wide receiver core getting open. Just a full dominant effort all the way around. To hold Oregon to 1 offensive touchdown, man, is unbelievable. And you see Bryant Haynes, I think I sent it to you, DC for Indiana, what he said on Twitter the other day.
Yep.
People were making fun of Indiana, saying that the defensive line only averaged whatever it was in the high 200s, and Oregon's offensive line averaged like 300 something, whatever it was. And he was like, "Oh my God, oh no, we're scared. Maybe we shouldn't show up.
Small and defenseless."
Yeah, we're small and defenseless. Yeah, just remarkable, man. And dude, look, obviously I haven't been sitting around following the history of Indiana football, probably like your pops and others have. But I can't remember a bigger win in my lifetime. in the regular season of Indiana getting a win like that. I mean, I can't at all. I mean, you're talking about
I
one of
mean,
the just call it what it is. You're talking about one of the most losingest programs
yeah,
in the Power Four that Signetti and Mike Shanahan Jr. and Brian Haynes and this crew and this staff, as like you said, turned into a legit. Let's just call it what it is. Indiana right now is an upper tier college football program.
yeah,
Like right now they are. I'm not talking about longevity or whatever like that. Like time will tell, while this staff is there. But I mean, dude, this is a team that won 11 games in the regular season last year. And I know, hey, by the way, everybody that wants to sit around and say, who they beat, who they play. Yeah. Y'all be quiet right now.
yeah,
Uh, can't say that now. Can't say that now. And just, by the way, shout out to Moose for our boy Moose throwing that on X today, talking about how we talked about this Indiana team, man, in the preseason. On paper, they were better
yeah.
going into this season, and now they've proved it on the field that they're a
Mhm.
better football team than that team was last year that went to the playoffs. They brought back all that talent on defense, and they brought back their best wide receivers. I know the Maple Missile was a great quarterback for them last year, but Mendoza can just take you to another level, man. He does
Yeah,
things that the Maple Missile couldn't do, and he showed it today in a huge matchup on the road like that. Just looked unflappable, dude. And I think the most impressive thing that I've seen from him, and one of the more impressive things that I've seen from a quarterback in general, period, all year long, dude, when he threw that pick six in that
mhm,
moment, that place came unglued. You couldn't hear yourself think there in Autzen Stadium. He makes a huge mistake like that. And instead of like folding your tent or falling under pressure or all the other things start going wrong and letting that mistake compound into other mistakes. Nah, man, they just come right back out and just kind of said, that's nothing. Just shake it off and go right down the field and score a touchdown and and throw a touchdown pass. Just unbelievable.
yeah. I mean, we're talking
And
about a program that they lost 46 straight games against top 5 opponents. Um, so yeah, for him to go down there and do that right after that was very, very good. Um, I love Signetti at halftime. I mean, just he was saying, obviously we didn't play very well. We got to stop jumping off sides. We got to stop laying on the ground after a play and coming out for a play for an injury, and then coming back on the field. Like you got to know, like he even though they were up 13-10 at halftime, he was ripping them at halftime. Dan Lanning was doing the same. He wasn't expecting. I think honestly, we talked about the speed and athleticism for Oregon kind of shocking Indiana, and obviously that really wasn't the case. I think the physicality of Indiana, the physicality they brought in the first half, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to those running backs, to the offensive line. And we talked about that Oregon offensive line, and Indiana's defensive line really pushed them around all game. Um, that was really the difference, as it is in most games. The trenches, that was one of the big differences in the game for me.
yeah, 100%. I mean, they had 8 tackles for a loss and 5 sacks. And, again, we talked about in games like this, your best players have to step up and make plays and be, big in big games. Well, last year's first team All Big Ten linebacker and preseason first team All Big Ten linebacker Aiden Fisher, 13 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 2 tackles for
Yeah.
a loss. I mean, again, that dude can play for me any day. Just an absolute stud. Elijah Surratt, your best, offensive player outside of Fernando Mendoza, has well over 100 yards receiving, a touchdown, average over 15 yards a catch. So their best player stepped up big in a big game like this. Now, you start looking ahead, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, now at this point, Indiana would have to self destruct. They would have to lose games that they're not supposed to lose to not make the playoffs because now they're always going to have this and this win in their back pocket.
Yep.
I mean, let's just now, I was one of those before the season because, you're sitting there thinking, looking at games, you're like, well, if Indiana's going to go 10-2, this is before the season. They're probably not going to win at Oregon. They're probably not going to win at Penn State. You look at the other games that they would play throughout the year, that 10-2 type of record would not get you into the playoff. Well, now if they were to stub their toes somewhere And now you obviously look at what Penn State's turned into.
Mhm.
Like, that doesn't look like obviously some insurmountable or even like that's gonna
Yeah.
even be a problem for them to go win that game at
Yeah.
this point for what Penn State is. So, I mean, yeah, dude, Indiana would have to borderline self-destruct or have some, like, awful key injuries that would keep them from not being a back-to-back college football playoff team. And
I mean, we
let me just ask you this, man. Let's just call it what it is, okay? It's not hyperbole to say this, I don't think. I'll just ask you. If the Zoos stand here today, is Indiana a national championship threat?
absolutely. I said it in the opener, man. Like they were talked about as being a Cinderella last year, coming out of nowhere. They made the playoffs. You know, they didn't play anybody. When they did, they got smoked. Obviously, you can't say that this year. They're absolutely a national championship contender. They put a team like that on the field, and we've seen the parity. I mean, Ohio State right now, we'll get to them in a little bit. They look like they're on a different level. Miami has looked very, very good against the teams they've played, but I mean, Indiana can go toe to toe with anybody, and we are staring down the barrel of a possible Indiana Ohio State matchup in the Big Ten championship in Indianapolis.
Absolutely. And dude, and I don't disagree with you. I do think Indiana, like, there's a handful of teams that I know it seems like Ohio State might be like the more dominant team at the moment than anybody else and whatnot. I get that, why people would think that. But at this moment, like, I don't think that there is like necessarily like just like, yeah, that team is so much better. Like, well, I guess what I mean by that, I was talking to my pops earlier, and he watched the entire Indiana Oregon game, and like he said, he goes, "Dude, ain't nobody got anything on this Hoosiers bunch
Yeah,
right now." And I said, Dad, do you think like if they bring their A game, like if Indiana, like, obviously if they show up and don't play well, you can't, predict it. But like if they show up and play their A game, somebody else's A game is not necessarily just so much better than their A game. They're going to be
yeah.
in the football game with no matter who they play if they show up and play their A game. So crazy,
And
man.
this is an Oregon team that I mean, we had ranked number 1 a couple weeks ago,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
dude,
know?
like
So
they're a really good football team with a really good quarterback, great coaching staff. I mean, most people, like you saw a lot of power ratings coming out here recently, had that Oregon team power rated extremely high,
mhm,
talking about how great that offensive line was and all their skill position players, how great Dante Moore was. And dude, Indiana just showed up in Autzen Stadium, a team that had lost like one home game in the last half, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. Uh, and just goes into Austin and gets a dub. And
yeah,
like you said, I know it was just 30-20, but dude, they dominated that game.
mhm,
They really did. Like it Oregon got that pick six and they only scored one offensive touchdown
yeah.
at home. Nuts.
Yeah, and you look at, like, Oregon's schedule and barring collapse, Oregon, IU, Ohio State, I mean, you're talking about you're pretty much a lock for 3 Big Ten teams to get in the playoff right now.
Yep.
And we talked about this as being the battle for the second place team in the Big Ten, which IU clearly won that. Oregon's probably third. USC probably won the fourth. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Um, I think 3 teams right now for Big Ten is pretty good. And yeah, like you said, man, home winning streaks went in the ground this weekend. And another one of those was Mizzou, right? They had a long home winning streak. Bama marches in there as 3-point favorites. And what do? They win three. They win a 3-point game, 27-24 on the road. You
Bama's
watch,
now snapped two really long home winning streaks this year in their last two road trips at Georgia and at Mizzou now.
yep. And I know you watched a lot of this game. Give us your thoughts on it.
It was a strange game, man. It just seemed like that Alabama was dominating the football game. They had the ball, like they dominated time of possession. It seemed like they had the ball the entire game. And then you look up at the halftime and it's a 7-point game. And then, of course, right out of the gate there in the second half, uh, Alabama has a turnover and Mizzou goes straight down the field and scores. And it's now a tie game and it's game on. And then Alabama gets a 10-point lead there late in the fourth quarter. And it seems like, game's over. You could breathe a little bit. And then there's Mizzou in the end zone before you could blink. And it's now a 3-point game, and they've got all 3 of their timeouts, and they just got to get a stop, and they're going to get the ball with the ball in hand for a chance to tie or a chance to win. Uh, and but like I mean, you sent the text, man. We and you were messing with each other back in text message. Like, you sent the text earlier in the game, and it didn't seem like that Mizzou was going to threaten to win that game. And then, of course, it ended up happening. But like, I still, man, I agree with you. Like, I don't. I know Mizzou fans are going to hate this, but whatever. I just Mizzou's a really good football team. They are. They're a really good football team. But I think if those two teams play each other 10 times, it would take a lot, in my opinion, for it would take Alabama not playing well or making mistakes and them playing really good football for Mizzou to beat them.
Yeah.
And if they play 10 times, I think Alabama wins the game 10
And
times.
it has to do with the matchup of the quarterback position,
It
honestly. I
really
mean,
does.
I
It
know
really
we
does. Like,
we talked a lot about Fernando Mendoza, for IU, and I mean, I know DraftKings, I just checked it, says otherwise, but Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza should be number 1 and number 2 for Heisman right now.
uh-huh.
Carson Beck's, floating up there too, which he's had a really good season, but those 2 guys are playing incredibly. I know people are talking about Mendoza in the NFL, like, honestly, I think more people should be talking about Ty Simpson as an NFL quarterback.
Yep.
And on the other side, obviously, you know, we saw Bo Perbula play a good defense and play a top tier team for the first time in his career. Um, and he struggled. Is honest. Like he just struggled. Yeah, it looked like him and his wide receivers were not on the same page numerous amount of times. And I don't know why that was the case. I mean, I know they had a bye week and everything, like to work on stuff. Like that just seemed a little off to me. Maybe that was Perbula. Maybe that was the receivers. I'm not sure, but most of the time when I was looking up at the TV, he was throwing to just the ground and the grass. Like I didn't see a wide receiver in the area.
Yeah, he wasn't very good, man. He really wasn't. 16 of 28. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Uh, he just it wasn't good. I mean, that's again, let's call it what it is. That was a huge mismatch between him and Ty Simpson, as far as quarterbacks doing against each other. And I mean, there were times that you'd look up and there were some Mizzou guys that were open, and like he just didn't have a prayer to get it to him. He just kept throwing high on some like even short passes. He just wasn't good. And that it got to the point to where they needed to be able to throw the ball, move the ball down the field with his arm, and they couldn't do it. Overall, I mean, he made a couple plays there, a couple throws there at the end, but still, for the most part, he just wasn't very good. And then a lot of the folks here locally in the Missouri area that are I'm really good friends with, that are big Mizzou fans, they were telling me coming into this that their biggest fear in this game was their secondary, and that would be a mismatch against Alabama's passing game. And they needed to get pressure on Ty, and they did. They got more pressure on Ty than
Yeah.
anybody else has so far, and we thought that they would. And those dudes are legit. Damon Wilson, Zion Young, and those guys up front from Mizzou, they can play. But yeah, you're the secondary for Mizzou, they've got problems. Uh, they were trying to almost like protect them at times too. I think you even texted me at one point and was like, look at the cushion that they're
Yeah.
giving some of these Alabama receivers, just like not going to let them get beat deep. But like you're still just giving up 8 to 10 yard, like
Hmm.
little passes here and there, and that's going to get you down the field quick. And then when Jam Miller was in the game, Alabama was running the ball very effectively. And then, of course, he goes down there, late in the fourth quarter. There were multiple injuries for Alabama in this game. That's probably my biggest concern right now for them is just one after another. Man, they just somebody keeps going down and getting injured. But the 4th and 8 throw that Ty Simpson made there in that fourth quarter, where they went for it on 4th and 8 because they were kind of in no man's land, and he dropped it into Lottie Brooks over on the
Hmm.
sidelines. That's one of the. I mean, you can't make it better. That's one of the best throws you're going to see,
Yeah.
without question. But going forward, again, Alabama now, of course, with the way the SEC works, just turn right around, and now they got to play Tennessee
Yeah.
next week.
Hold on. It's the way the SEC works for some teams.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's a good point. It really is unbelievable the difference in people's schedules.
Yeah.
But for Mizzou, I think the thing that I would be most nervous about for them going forward is like Alabama's defensive front isn't as problematic of getting after the quarterback as like a Texas A&M or an Oklahoma and some of these other teams in the SEC that Mizzou still has left to play. And I would be worried if I was a Mizzou fan about teams that are going to be able to get pressure on my quarterback or teams that have a really good defensive front that's going to be able to slow down my running game and make Bo Prabula beat me with his arm. Because again, he may get to that point. What was that, like his fifth start ever?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
like
6 start, maybe. Yeah,
yeah, fifth or sixth start ever. I mean, he's got room to improve and he can get better. But like, is he going to get so much better 3 or 4 games from now? Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe he will. But that would be the thing I would be most worried about if I was a Mizzou fan
yeah.
going forward down the stretch with some of the teams left that they still have left to play.
Uh, Game we just finished up with here, man. Auburn, Georgia, in Jordan-Hare. Absolute wild game. I can't believe it went as long as we did. I'm here on Central Time finally, and still recording late, even though I thought it was going to be over by about 10 o'clock. The last 2 minutes of the first half took about 35 minutes to play. Um, I guess we can start off with that play there at the end of the first half. I mean, does the SEC just have it out for Auburn? Um,
I I don't know, man, but the 2 plays that happened in the Oklahoma game, that went the opposite direction that really changed the trajectory of that. Would they have won or lost the game? I don't know, but they definitely
yeah,
didn't help them. It definitely did not help them uh, in that game. And then I'm sorry, man, but like that's a touchdown in this game tonight. That's a touchdown. When both ESPN announcers, they go to the booth at halftime. The people at halftime are saying it. The ruled Matt Austin, that whatever the rules official guy that they have in there, he's saying that's a touchdown. And I think the thing that people keep forgetting, even McElroy and them were saying it, like they break the plane, they break the plane. Like, you don't have to break the plane. It's the very front part
yeah,
of that white line of the end zone. If any point of the football
yeah,
touches that or goes over that little front part of that big ass thick line, that is a touchdown.
yeah.
And it did, and then yeah, they knocked it out. Just I can't believe they called it a fumble on the field to begin with. I was really surprised at that. Uh, and I can't believe it upheld. But dude, after that, you want to talk about just everything falling apart. Just everything falling apart.
I mean, they were getting ready to go up 17-0
Yeah.
in that that was going to be set a three score lead. They end up not scoring the rest of the game. They lose
Mm-mm.
20-10. I mean, I get it. Yeah, the review was bad. The calls were bad. Some of the calls were bad. You've got to be able to regroup
Okay.
after that.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, you got to be able to regroup.
They
They just
completely dude, I don't mean to cut you off. They completely lost just absolutely lost their composure. And I mean, I get being them. I understand, man, like why they would be so angry and mad and frustrated. But like, I think every Auburn fan around the world, every player, every staffer, every faculty member, I mean, the ADs out there running around chasing the official at halftime, like everybody had lost their composure. I just think, honestly, the definition of everybody that is anything associated with Auburn just went total F it mode at that
yeah.
point. They'd had it. They'd had enough. They'd hit their breaking point at that moment, and there was no coming back from it. And yes, all hell broke loose after that. The amount of penalties and everything else, just all composure was lost. Uh, and I can't remember a game, man. I mean, Auburn was just that was as dominant and a bullying of a performance against a Kirby Smart Georgia team, even more
Until
so
that
than the
play.
Ole Miss deal last year, even more so than the Notre Dame game last year. I mean, they were absolutely bullying, dominating. It was a total just cheek clapping at that moment in time
Until that play.
until that play. And everything changed. After that one play, everything changed.
The
Just
Georgia needed the referee's help to break the curse, to break the voodoo. They're Jordan-Hare,
I
and
get
that's what did it, man.
that's a
But
good point.
honestly, like that, I think the frustration and everything, that is just what Hugh Freeze's tenure is, and like I think it's reaching a boiling point. We can all see it.
Yeah.
Auburn's just a completely undisciplined team. They couldn't refocus. I don't know why he didn't use a timeout there to kind of like calm his guys down. I mean, double digit penalties again, triple digit yardage and penalties, just nonstop. Like last year, it was the turnovers, man. They were negative, and the turnovers this year, it seems to be kind of the uncontrollables as far as like the reviews and some of the calls that are going to get some episode for another time. All these reviews, man, like we got to do something about like the
Well, just
timeliness.
SEC officiating in general is a joke, man. It
Yeah,
really is. When you've got some of the biggest I mean, I know ATB is like one of the biggest shows on the planet, but when you've got some of the like other like big shows that are kind of
yeah.
like as close as ours that are out there covering this, talking about just how pathetic the officiating is in the SEC and how it's just like talked about among everyone, and then you watch it take place on national television like that tonight. Like, dude, the Kirby Smart timeout, and then he told the official he was clapping his hands, and they just said, "Oh, okay, yeah, my bad," and just did.
I was surfing Twitter here. I'm gonna. Some people are doing some deep dives. Most notably, John Tweets Sports, avid Georgia fan. He kind of was trying to do some lip reading. I don't know if it's a Georgia fan coming out in him, but he said that he was trying to tell the referees that Auburn was clapping to get them to jump off sides. So I still don't know why. Again, he signaled timeout. They stopped the play. It should have either been a timeout for Georgia or delay of game. Again, it shows the incompetency of the officiating in the SEC just all around.
Bro, that was about to be a 5-yard penalty,
Yeah.
or yeah, I mean, or Georgia was going to run, whatever, and they just said,
Very next play, they got down to like the inside the 5,
"Yeah,
got called
yeah."
back by the Cash Jones block in the back. But so still, I mean, it's the same point. Is like, yeah, it just seems like the officiating is lower class. Like it's not up to what the SEC standard should be. The officiating does not just mean more in the SEC.
No, it doesn't.
Everything else
It
means more except for the officiating.
it doesn't. But really quick on the game itself, just
Yeah,
the Auburn dominated the line of scrimmage, and then Georgia does what Georgia does, and they came out in the second half, and they look like a different football team.
yeah,
And I know part of that had to do with like all the momentum that had changed. Yeah, I get that, but still, either way, Georgia did look like a different football team. All of a sudden, Gunnar Stockton started making throws. Georgia started, running a better offense and calling better plays, and they just look like a different football team again there in the second half. Made some adjustments. And that drive there in the fourth quarter, again, just a typical Kirby Smart Georgia coach football team on the road. It was still a hostile environment. Auburn had every bit of a chance to still win that football game. It's a 3-point game at that time. And Georgia has like a billion play drive and runs every freaking second basically off the clock and just scores there at the end. And instead of Gunnar Stockton going down after he got the first down and could have ended the game, he decided to dive for a touchdown, and he ruined people's plus 3.5. And
that's
yeah,
why you don't gamble.
exactly. Exactly. I don't know who out there had plus 3.5. Couldn't be me.
Yeah,
But yeah, just Georgia again, man. They are. I wonder how many Auburn fans out there were tired of Greg McElroy sitting there in the booth saying how resilient Georgia is and how Auburn's mistake led to Georgia coming back in the game, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, man. That was one of the strangest games, but like honestly, it's a typical Auburn game where just
yeah,
moments you're sitting there watching it, going like, is this like this game's drunk? That's what this is. This game is drunk.
yeah, yeah. I mean, looking at Georgia's schedule, I mean, they still got Ole Miss, Florida, Texas, but two of those are at home. One of those is a neutral site. They've only got one loss. I mean, Mississippi State on the road, like they're looking pretty good. I mean, they got a
They're
good
going
shot.
they're going to lose another game, but I don't know that they're going to lose two games. I don't know that they're going to be a 9-3 team, but I think they're going to lose another game. I just overall, like this, I could see this Georgia team all of a sudden turning around trying to win, maybe can win a national championship. But I just think that there's something still, man, with this team that's just missing from them being good enough to go through those teams you just mentioned, that schedule right there, and not lose another game. Period.
Yeah,
I don't know where it'll be. but I just don't think that they're dominant enough to go through that and not lose another game. And some of these
Crazy
other teams in
question.
the SEC are also the margin of error is so slim that there's so many teams that could just beat somebody on any given Saturday in the SEC right now.
Crazy question here. Indiana or Georgia on a neutral field?
Ooh, crazy answer. I really don't know.
Yeah.
You know what's wild? There's people listening to this right now that just like, are you kidding me? Like and like all you're doing is just telling on yourself that you haven't watched this Indiana team play football. That's
You
all you're
need to
doing.
watch this Indiana. I don't care who they play. Got Michigan State next. Turn them on, watch them play. Watch Sig's coach. Like he doesn't hold a back seat in my mind to any coach in college football. Like present day
Yeah.
history. Like obviously, like Kirby Smart's got the 2 titles, whatever. But yeah, I don't want to get off in the weeds again about Indiana again. Let's talk about Red River. Uh, Texas comes away with the 23-6 victory. Brent Venables has coached, I think, in 4 Red River games, and his teams have scored like a touchdown in only one of them. Is that right?
Yeah, something like
That
that. I
stat
think
I
he
saw
scored.
earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
They got off to a good start, up 3-0, up 6-3, and then wheels just kind of fell off. We talked earlier in the year about Mateer, against Michigan and some of those other games, just kind of getting away with some of these turnover worthy plays. Did not get away with it this game. He obviously was playing with the bum wrist, but he threw 3 picks. Again, they could not run the ball. They cannot run the ball at all. They were going against a really good defense, and it's not like that Texas was anything special either. Like obviously, Q Wisner had 94 yards. Arch only threw for 160. Like they didn't do anything special. They just kind of did what you needed to do to win this game. You mentioned under 43.5. I hopped on that as soon as Mateer got announced. It was 44.5. Easy winner on the under, 23-6. So the big question though, I watched a little bit of the game. I knew you watched a little bit more. Like Arch Manning apparently looked pretty good. Is he back? Is Arch Manning back? Like he got his first win away from Texas. He's still yet to get a true road victory. So that'll be the next step in the Arch Manning Renaissance tour.
Well, your question was, is he back? I don't know how he could be back if he never had arrived
Sorry.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the
Has he
athletic wants to know.
arrived? Maybe
The athletic wants to know if he's back.
yeah. Well, that doesn't shock me that the athletic wants
Yeah.
to know that.
Yeah.
But has he arrived? Maybe. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was pulling for him after that New York
Yeah.
Times article and just the unfairness that how he's been treated after only his. I think that was like his third Power Four start
Yeah.
ever uh, in this game. And the difference was, man, is that the Texas offensive line and some of the other Texas players around him on offense actually made some plays and made some people miss. And when they got the ball in their hands, they got some yards after the catch. And Q Wisner was making some plays. The offensive line did enough. Were they great? No. But did they actually give Arch a chance to try to make some plays? Yes. And like you said, dude, there's not going to be many teams, man, that's going to go out and just light up this Oklahoma defense and this Brent Venables defense. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, Oklahoma's defense played good enough to win this football game. Texas's defense just played better.
Yep.
This was more about the Texas defense and old Coach Pete K. And Texas was in that wounded animal mode. And all the Nick Saban saying after the Georgia SEC championship game years ago when they made his team a 6.5-point underdog and all of the stuff that was talked about that Alabama team going into that game. And then after the game when they beat Georgia, Nick Saban said, that rat poison that y'all put out there this week was yummy. I can promise you, Sark was sitting around going, I don't have to do any motivating this week. That rat poison the rest of the world is out there putting right now, yummy. They've still got dudes everywhere, man. They've got 5 stars and future NFL guys running all over that defense and players on that offense that are really, really freaking good and talented. And they just got pooped on all week long by everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw. It was a rivalry game. They didn't need more motivation for that anyway, but they got it this past week and they played like it. That's literally, they look like we talked about Florida last week at home in Gainesville against Texas, playing with their hair on fire, like their life depended on it. That's how Texas played in this game, man. And you hit the nail on the head about Mateer. I am going to give him a little bit of a break there. The dude came out there 2 weeks before apparently he was supposed to be playing anyway. I'm not going to give it all on that because, like you said, there were other games that we watched that him play in that
Mhm.
the defense was getting their hands on the ball. They just didn't pick it.
Yeah.
Uh, and today they did in this matchup. But Texas is now right back in the mix, bro. Right back in the that was as must win as must because they lose that game, their playoff hopes and everything is over.
Yeah.
But now they got every chance and still everything to play for in the SEC. They can still get to an SEC championship. They can still get to a college football playoff. Obviously, Oklahoma's not out of anything. They got a lot, but like Oklahoma's schedule though is just
Dude, I want to tell you
awful.
something. Oklahoma started off 5-0.
Yep.
I don't know what their record's going to be. I
Yeah.
don't know how healthy Mateer is going to be. I don't know if they can run the ball. I know their defense is good, but I want to tell you their next 6 games, and they've got to bye right smack dab in the middle of these 6 games, but they got to go right back on the road to Williams-Brice next week. Uh, South Carolina.
Oof.
They host Ole Miss at Tennessee, bye, at Alabama, Missouri at home, LSU at home.
Oh, that's just I'm sorry, dude. I'm gonna sound like such an SEC homer here, but whatever. If you can say with a straight face that some of these other teams in these other conferences have to deal with that, you're just you maybe should like take a look in the mirror and just take some truth serum or something. Like
Or
I don't.
teams in your own conference, or teams in the SEC.
Agreed, agreed.
Yeah,
There's also teams in the SEC that aren't dealing with that. Like with South Carolina, the gauntlet they're running right now, the gauntlet that Alabama's running right now. Uh, it's uh, It's ridiculous what some of these teams are having to go through. And again, I'll say it. I think there's going to be at least one 9-3 team that makes the playoff. Uh, Maybe more.
yeah, and we don't have to get off in the weeds of the
No,
SEC versus the Big Ten, but I mean, I just pulled up Ohio State's schedule, and 4 of their next 5 games are against Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers. And if you want to throw the 5th team in, it's Penn State. So that's their next month and a half before they play at Michigan. And so yeah, they're not playing the same schedules. They're not playing in the same league at all. It's a completely different power of
it's a
league.
different
So
world, bro. It's a different world. But I know in one game winner take all scenarios, and when you get in the playoffs after you've had a
yeah,
month off or whatever, it's a different. But like the week in week out grind of what some of these teams are going through right now are outrageous.
yeah.
And speaking of the Big Ten, how about old Lincoln Riley and USC bringing one home for me and you with a best bet on the Trojans? And
Had to
they
have it.
got it. Yeah, had to have it game. As far as like I would probably say that is one of it's not his biggest win. I don't think since he's been at USC, but dude, it's up there as far as like the moment that like again the had to have it moment. If they lose that game, we talked about the preview for the game for this Michigan game. If they go and lose that game, the he wouldn't have been fired or anything, but it'd have been really hard to back this USC bunch for the rest of this year from a public standpoint and any momentum as a program that you go and lose this game at home this week. Were they coming off a bye, USC?
Yeah.
Yeah, coming off a bye. You get Michigan with a true freshman quarterback and you get them on your home field. Yeah, they had to
And
have this one.
you know how he won it. We talked about them possibly getting pushed around. They pushed Michigan around.
Oh, for sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, they ran for 224 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. Jaden Mayaba had a great game. He threw a stupid pick in the red zone. They had a turnover in the red zone again. But they won by 18. They won going away. They beat Michigan. And you know who else was absolutely cheering their butt off for USC? That was Notre Dame, because USC will probably most likely after that decisive victory over the number 15 team in the country, they'll sneak back up there in the top 25. And Notre Dame desperately, desperately needed at least, a ranked win on their schedule, and they get that opportunity next weekend.
It's gonna be a great game, by the way, next weekend, man, between the Trojans and the Irish. But yeah, I mean that USC offense is it looks like your typical really good, balanced throw in run, explosive, just you name it. It's one of the best. They have one of the best offenses in college football. No question about it.
Yeah.
Mayava will do some stupid stuff here and there, but overall, the weapons that they've got on the perimeter, the running game, the freaking yards per carry, dude, that USC is getting, the amount of
Yeah.
amount of yards per clip with them running the football right now is, and there's multiple backs that are doing it. Yeah, they're impressive, and I was also impressed with the USC defense uh, tonight. The way that they stepped up and got physical at the line of scrimmage. And you said it, dude, in a text message to me again. Bryce Underwood's going to be legit. It's just not. He just doesn't have it right now.
He made some good throws, but he's
He
just
did.
very inconsistent.
He is, and what you would
Yeah.
expect from a true freshman. But we're not one of those places that just because he's not looking great right now that means he's going to suck 3 years from now. That
Yeah.
dude's going to be ridiculous in his career, and he's going to get better and better. He is someone that I do think that will get better throughout this year. And then next year and the following year, he's going to be outrageous how good he's going to be at the college football level. But again, that was a decisive win by USC and a dominant win. I mean, that was close, honestly, close to a cheek clapping in that game. There was never
Yeah.
in doubt. And the only reason Michigan was in the game was because of mistakes and dumb mistakes that USC made. They controlled that football game from the jump.
Yeah. Finally, before we get to the ATB top 12, we got to talk possibly for the last time on October 12th for the 2025 season. This might be the last time we talk about the Penn State and Indy Lions because they're clearly just not worth talking about anymore. But we got to talk about it because they're such a huge brand in college football. And
It's
what
one of
has
the biggest.
happened
It's
to
one of the biggest stories in the sport right now. Yeah.
what has happened to them in the past? I mean, we're talking 15 days ago, 14 days and a couple hours ago, they were getting ready to kick off their game against Oregon. And in the blink of an eye, you look up and they're 3-3. They still yet do not have a Power 4 win. They go get smoked at UCLA. They come back as another 20-plus point favorite to Northwestern, and they lose 22-21. And to make matters worse, it sucks for Drew Aller. He goes out, season-ending injury. This has gone very, very bad, very, very quickly.
Yep.
And what do we think about? What do we think happens with James Franklin now? Like obviously everything was on the table when they lost to UCLA. But I mean, do we think he's going to send out his tweet tomorrow about who they play next week and 1-0, 1-0, 1-0?
Knowing him, man, probably will. He probably will. The way that he is and the way he
They go to
operates.
Iowa next week.
Yeah. The way he is and the way he operates, he probably will. But as far as what's next I don't know how he can remain the coach there. And I don't know how he would want to remain the coach there. I can't imagine how, again, I don't have like my finger on the pulse of the Penn State fan base by any means. I'm not trying to act like I do, but I'm just putting myself, like just thinking about like the way that would be, like put myself in the shoes of a diehard Penn State fan. And I can't imagine a more toxic situation right now between a fan base and a coach than that one right now. They already were like holding on by a thread with him and this the amount of just ranked losses that he has and the top 10 losses but now he's losing games like this. This was the year. This was the year for them, man. This was it.
Yeah.
Recruiting class that had both of those tailbacks and Drew Aller and denied Dennis Sutton and multiple of these dudes on defense together. They all come back. We all know the story. They bring in Jim Knowles as DC, and they just I don't know how he can remain the coach there. I don't know what exactly happens. My personal opinion at this moment, just off the top of my head, what I think probably happens, I think it'll be some sort of a mutual parting of ways. And I heard
Why would you do that if you're James Franklin?
I agree. I was going to say, if you're James Franklin, with the amount of money that they owe you, why would you mutually agree to anything?
You don't want me here, fire me. Give me my $56 million.
Yeah, That's a good point. Probably. That's probably what will happen. I mean, I don't.
because he's. I mean, head coaches have some of the biggest egos out there, and he's got to think in his mind, dude, I can turn this around. We can turn this around. Next year's a new year. Bringing a new quarterback. We're Penn State. We can turn it around.
I already saw his quotes after the game saying like, this is on me. I've got to get this right, and I am going to get this right.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't. Yeah, if anybody's listening to this, you know that I'm the last one that's a fire him. It's fire him, fire coach. I'm not like that. And this is I just don't know how you go from this. Like, okay, let's just say that this does just. I mean, right now it is at rock bottom. Let's just say it goes full on rock bottom. They end up 6-6 or worse on the season. Like, how do you come back next year with the team, like as a fan base of Penn State, and like be excited? I just
yeah,
don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't know, like how you with all like the donors to give money for NIL and whatnot. Like they went all in on this year, and this is what they get. This is the
yeah,
product they got. I just don't
yeah.
know what. I just don't know what next. We could talk about this forever. I just don't know what next steps would be there. I really don't.
All right, let's move on. Let's finish up with our week 8 ATB top 12. I'll take odds, you take evens. Number 1, we still got the Miami Hurricanes there. They were on a bye week again this week after beating Florida State last week. And I believe Miami, I mean, you look at their schedule. Yeah, they've got, I mean, what looks to be a pretty tough game at Pitt, final game of the year. They got a couple other possible, trap games sitting there, but for the most part, they're looking pretty solid. They got Louisville coming up on a Friday night down in Coral Gables, so that should be a good one. But yeah, we're sticking with Miami number 1 right now.
Number 2, we've got the Ohio State Buckeyes, and just took
Easy
care.
work.
Yeah, just took care of business again. Defensively, offensively, just stayed. They weren't as efficient, I don't believe, as they were in other, but
Uh,
still, just kind of did their thing. Let the other team make mistakes. Let Illinois make mistakes, because the only way that Illinois could try to score was to try to force things that they normally wouldn't do, because they couldn't. You just can't run your normal offense against this Ohio State defense, because that defense is just so good. And I actually did. I had this on like the second main TV and watched a good bit of this during that noon slate during that Alabama Missouri game as well, and because I had action on the Buckeyes minus 14, and it
mhm.
got there. Illinois was trying to backdoor cover there at the end. But yeah, that Buckeye defense, man, just dominated the football game again. Julian Sand
Now there were some cracks in the armor. They did allow 2 red zone touchdowns. Watch out for that in the future.
yeah. Well, we actually talked about it going into the game though, that with a guy like Altmaier that is solid and efficient like him, be interested to see how this Buckeye defense would do against him. But dude, they just like Caden Curry, it really is the definition of next man up, dude. They lose all the guys that they lost last year, and to see some of the absolute just freaks running around on that defense again now. Obviously, we know Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, just they really might have the 2 best wide receivers in all of college football on the same team. Uh, I know people want to talk about this guy or that guy from whatever team. I mean, Carnell Tate is as good as anybody in the country, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. But yeah, you already talked about it. The Buckeye schedule coming up the next however many games, it's a joke. It really
Mhm.
is. It's a joke. Now, it's their conference schedule. I'm not
Yeah.
blaming that on Ohio State. I'm not saying Ohio State is a joke because they've got a weak schedule.
No.
This is
I
their
Ohio
conference
State could
schedule.
play Ohio State could play some of these teams on Oklahoma's schedule and be just fine.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
Buckeye, I'm not trying to sit here and say the Buckeyes are trying to shy away from competition. They're not at all. They are a legit national title contender and a contender to go back to back again without question.
At number 3, we got the Indiana Hoosiers. And I ranked them all the way up at number 2. You got them at 4, so we average out at 3. Again, we talked about it at the beginning of the episode, just a dominant victory at Oregon. It was not a fluke. This team is no longer a flash in the pan like last year, a one-hit wonder, They're no longer the punching bag of the Big Ten. I mean, they're here and they're on a national championship contending level. And I guess that is kind of a testament to like what college football is in 2025 and how a coach can bring in, an entire new team basically. and bring to keep that continuity. That was probably huge for him, keeping that continuity with the coaching staff and the players from JMU who knew him. And so just the job that Siggs has done is incredible. The year they've had so far, obviously the Oregon win, but beating Illinois by 53 points says a lot. The Old Dominion win, you look at power ratings, Old Dominion's up there in the mid 40s, like around like teams like Arizona, who I believe is beating BYU right now with 29 seconds left as we talk. I mean, that's where ODU's power rated. So, you talk about the non-conference schedule a lot, and they've canceled some P4 games, and you never know how this stuff's going to turn out. ODU is looking like a pretty good win right now. So we're sticking with Indiana at number 3 right now.
Number 4, we've got Gig'em, the Texas A&M Aggies. They got a 17-point win, 34-17 against old Billy Napier and the Florida Gators tonight in College Station. Just again, good, solid win. Florida is very talented. Say what you want about Billy Napier and whatnot. It's still a talented football team. And Florida coming off that game against Texas, feeling themselves a little bit, feeling like they had new life, and they come into College Station, and I caught a good bit of this game. It was I want to say a one possession game there pretty late, and then A&M stretched it out there in the fourth quarter. And I mean, I would say overall, just a solid performance against again, I know that some people may not act like that Florida would be a solid win, and you think Florida sucks. That's fine, but Florida is a very talented football team, and getting a win like that, 17-point dub, is a solid win for Texas A&M.
At number 5, guns up, Texas Tech, 42-17 victory over Kansas tonight. Baron Morton got hurt again, so they kind of did what they did against Utah. Will Hammond came in, looked just fine, led 3 scoring drives in the second half. It was 21-17 at halftime. They shut out the Jayhawks in the second half. That defense came alive. They've now won all 6 of their games by at least 24 points. And again, we'll talk the same thing, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. They're not playing the same schedules here. Okay, we know what kind of quality opponent they're playing in the Big 12. It's no slight to the Big 12. We love the Big 12. Big 12 provides high entertainment, high quality games, really fun games to watch a lot. And again, I think this Texas Tech team is up there. Like they're the type, if they get in the Big 12, and they're not just going to be like, in Arizona State last year, where like, oh, they almost beat Texas. Like it would have been like a upset of like this Texas Tech team is for real.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is legit. We've talked ad nauseum about their defense. And we think highly enough of them to have them up at number 5 right now.
Yeah, but at number 6, we've got Alabama, the highest ranked one-loss team in the country. I mean, 3 weeks in a row, they've taken down 3 ranked teams. We're not one of those. It's like, oh, you got how many ranked wins you got? It's also, too, we look at like power ratings and different things like that, too. But winning on the road at Georgia, winning on the road at Missouri, both of those programs had 2 of the longest, home winning streaks in the country. I know, wouldn't you ever think you'd ever say this and act like it's a big win, and but it is against a good football team in Vandy. So that's 3 weeks in a row that Alabama now, unless I'm mistaken, there's not a team in college football that has better wins than Alabama does 3 weeks straight, like the last 3
No.
weeks. Right? Yeah, agreed. So resume wise, I know they've got the blemish, obviously, beginning of the year against Florida State. But if your conversation is, well, what about what happened to Florida State, and that's where it ends for you, I can't help you. Then that's fine. That's your opinion. If you don't want to talk about what Alabama has actually done the last 3 weeks and not what they did basically almost 2 months ago, then go right ahead. But this Alabama football team is playing their tail off right now, and Ty Simpson in that passing game is cooking.
At number 7, we have Ole Miss. Yes, they are 6-0. They do have less losses than Alabama, but I know they got the win over LSU. They also put up a weird score today. I didn't watch a single bit of the Ole Miss Washington State game today, and from the sound of it, it doesn't look like the student section for Ole Miss watched a lot of this game. Lane Kiffin was very critical after the game of the student section, and he said our red zone offense showed up about as good as our student section showed up today. It was a 33 point spread. Usually Lane has no issues getting that to the bank, but They were down late in this game. They ended up winning 24-21 against a Washington State team that lost by 20 or 35 to Washington and 49 to North Texas. So it was just a weird game for the Rebels. Like, I don't know if it was possibly overlooking the Cougars to their road tilt with Georgia next week. I don't know. Had to drop them. I mean, you can't go out there looking like that and put up a 3-point win over Washington State, who's basically glorified, G5 team at this point.
Agreed. And dude, like Ole Miss's resume isn't better though. Even
Yeah.
like it's not. It's just not. It's really not.
Yeah.
But
They
like, let
haven't
me
played they haven't played an out of conference P4.
right.
They don't do that either.
Exactly. And I'll answer your question about were they overlooked. Yeah, they absolutely were overlooking their fans, their team, heck, everybody. Like you said, you didn't watch a second of it. I ended up turning it over there in the fourth quarter
Had
when I
to.
was like, "Is this?" It's like honestly, you're sitting there like seeing the score come across the bottom of the screen, or when you're checking the ESPN app, you're like, "Okay, it's just a matter of time." I mean, Ole Miss is going to eventually stretch it out. And then I see the big four up for the fourth quarter, and I see the score, and I said, "Okay, third TV going to Ole Miss Wazoo." Did not have that on the bingo card for the
Yeah.
day, but yeah, I caught a little bit of it. But yeah, you're right, strange game. Number 8, after their loss to Indiana at home today, is the Oregon Ducks. Oregon's still a very good football team. They just got beat by a better football team today. And the teams that are behind them, personally, just don't think that they're better than Oregon right now. You could make an argument, maybe, sure, but in our own opinion, these are our rankings. We've got the Oregon Ducks still at number 8, and like you alluded to earlier, they would have to fall on their face to not be a college football playoff team at this point. I think probably their best chance to lose a game the rest of the year would be kind of a tricky spot when they go to Iowa City at one point here coming up in the year. And again, USC solid, but I can't imagine them losing to Autzen,
They
to
go at
USC.
Washington,
That's right. Ooh,
end of the year.
that could be a that's true. That's going to be a good one at Husky
Yeah.
Stadium later in the year. But even
Yep.
at 10-2, I'd be surprised if the committee would leave them out. But it'd be a conversation. They'd be in the conversation then at 10-2 with you'd think that the Penn State win would be some amazing win earlier in the year, and all of a sudden
I
it's
was gonna
not.
say,
Yeah, and
yeah,
all of a sudden it's not. And then you've got some of these teams over here in the SEC that's got all these whatever wins at 9-3, 10-2. Yeah, you would then be your fate would be in the hands of other people making a decision of comparing your resume with others.
yeah,
That was a big loss today against the
yeah.
Hoosiers for them on their home field.
Number 9, Georgia Bulldogs. Big win at Auburn. Like we said, we looked at their schedule. They've got some good teams coming up on it. A lot of them are at home or neutral. Got to go on the road at Mississippi State. On the road, well, neutral against Georgia Tech. So um, I think they're sitting in pretty good position right now. Um, they just, yeah, like you said, man, there's still something about this team, and I don't know if we just became so accustomed over the last half decade about just watching the Georgia football teams, and that's why we're thinking that. But there is just something about Georgia right now that you're kind of just like, I don't know what it is, but we got them at number 9 right now.
Yeah, they're a really good football team. They just don't look elite right now. I mean, now,
Yeah,
could they be later in the year? Sure. They've got a lot of like really talented guys that this is their first year getting a ton of playing time, uh, mixed in with guys that have been playing. So I mean, they could be sitting there right in the thick of it into the year. I'm definitely not going to be one doubting them. I know that.
yeah,
Uh, Number 10, team that took an L today, Boomer Sooner, the Oklahoma Sooners. Uh, Obviously took a loss there in the Red River game in their rivalry today, but they still got their solid win over Michigan. They've got a couple of P4 wins there, but there's like you said, their schedule coming up down the stretch, man, is just absolutely ridiculous. And that defense is going to have to carry them while John Mateer continues to get healthier and healthier each week. But is it South Carolina they've got next on the road?
yep.
I believe you said, yeah. So, yeah, they've got to figure it out in a hurry. But the good news is that defense can travel and can carry them a long way. But they've got problems on that offensive line that they've got to figure out still.
Number 11, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They get a 15-point victory over Virginia Tech. So those of us who took a gamble on Virginia Tech plus 14.5, we lost by half point. Those are the best games to lose. Um, Props to Brent Key, I guess he finally covered as a favorite. Now they get Duke on deck, which will be a fun game this next Saturday at noon Eastern. Obviously, they got Pitt on the schedule. They've got Syracuse. They've got NC State. It's an ACC schedule. Georgia at the end of the year. But again, Georgia Tech, like we said at the beginning of the year, they're looking really good for a spot in the ACC championship right now.
Yep. And at number 12, we've got Rocky Top, Tennessee. I believe I had LSU here in the
Hmm.
spot, but I can't remember where you had Tennessee at, but wherever they averaged out at, they averaged out to number 12.
Yeah, I had
And
Tennessee number 12. Yeah.
you had Tennessee at 12.
Mhm.
But the Vols have a big one coming up in Tuscaloosa. The old
Yep.
third Saturday in October game against the
I'm just
Tide.
trying to give Alabama more big credit on their wins when they get these wins. I'm trying to rank these teams higher for them, prop them up a little bit.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, the Vols, they fended off the old fighting Bobby Petrinos today.
Yeah.
The old fighting Bobby Petrinos and the Hogs showed up into Neyland Stadium today and brought that high flying offense of Petrinos and gave Tennessee all they wanted. But the Vols there in the second half kind of stretched it out a little bit, and then Arkansas kind of made it a little interesting there late. But overall, it's solid win for Tennessee. They've got a big one though coming up in Tuscaloosa that will if that's a game right there, if they could get, obviously that could catapult them into right there in the mix with everybody else as far as the college football playoff talk is concerned.
All right, so rattling off the top 12 once again. Number 1, Miami. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Indiana. Number 4, Texas A&M. Number 5, Texas Tech. Number 6, Alabama. Number 7, Ole Miss. Number 8, Oregon. Number 9, Georgia. Number 10, Oklahoma. Number 11, Georgia Tech. And number 12, Tennessee. Be on the lookout early this week. The All Podcasters poll will be coming out with, we're starting to get a lot of people putting their votes in. So hopefully it's better than the AP poll. I mean, anything is. But that's it for us, man. We don't have any guests to spread. We're recording on a Saturday night, so not a lot of the early lines are out. But we'll be back sometime later this week to preview, again, what looks to be a really good week 8. A lot of good games on the schedule. I think we've got 4, at least at this time, 4 ranked versus ranked matchups. Like you mentioned, Tuscaloosa, down in Athens. A lot of really good games to talk about. So that's it, man. For us, yeah, follow on X, Instagram, TikTok, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Go subscribe. For Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.